Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, very good. Good evening, everyone. Kathy, when you're ready, if you call to order, please.
This meeting, which is hereby called to order, is in compliance with the notice requirements of the law. Public notice was posted in the office of the Board of Education and communicated to the municipal clerk, the Daily Record, and the Star Ledger on January 9, 2017.
Very good, thank you. We're going to stand for the flag salute in a moment, and if you'll remain standing afterwards for a moment of silence. Salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. And when you're ready, Kathy, roll call.
Mr. Lucio, Ms. Dodds, Ms. Rosario. Here. Mr. Miller.
Here.
Mrs. Lori.
Here.
Mr. Starnio.
Here.
Mrs. Mullen.
Here.
Mrs. Phillips.
Here.
Ms. Ruiz.
Here.
Mrs. Shower.
Here. Thank you very much. Good evening, public. Thank you for coming out this evening. It's a beautiful October evening. We open the portion to the public at this time for public comment. This is about agenda items at this point. We have another public comment at the end of the meeting. This one right now is just for agenda items only. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. If you can stand and state your name and address for the record. Is there anyone that would like to speak at this time? No one. Okay. Seeing no one, I'll close this portion of the meeting. And again, we'll have one at the end of the meeting about any items, not just agenda items. Moving on to approval of minutes. We have executive session and regular session from September 19th.
The motion that we approve.
Second. Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Were there any corrections or comments? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Very good. Communications. Ms. Jennings, do you have anything?
Nothing at this time.
Okay. On to board secretary and treasurer reports. Mrs. Lori?
I move we approve the board secretary and treasurer's reports month ending August 30, 2017.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Were there any questions or comments? That's good. Okay, roll call then, please.
Ms. Rosario.
Yeah.
Mr. Miller.
Yes.
Mrs. Lori.
Yes.
Mr. Starnio.
Yes.
Mrs. Mullen.
Yes.
Mrs. Phillips.
Yes.
Ms. Ruiz.
Yes.
Mrs. Shower.
Yes. Thank you very much, Mrs. Lori. And this evening, we are proud to have with us our building administrators from the entire district. It's wonderful to see you tonight, everyone. Thank you for coming. This is an annual event. We have our preliminary assessments of our state testing and where our district is at this point. First speaking this evening is Ms. Beth Schoolmaker. She's going to tell us where the district is in general, and we have a PowerPoint presentation. Yeah.
Well, thank you for allowing us to bring you our annual fall assessment presentation. Tonight, we're going to take a look at both the district results from the 2016-17 school year assessment, as well as the building level results. In addition to reviewing assessment data, goals and initiatives for the current school year will also be outlined. We're going to begin by taking a look at English language arts. This is the first year that we have 3 years of PARC data to take a look at. So in addition to showing our district performance school-wide in grades 3 through 11 in English language arts, we're also going to take a look at the change over 3 years, the growth that's been exhibited. The 2017 scores are listed under the column in green, and the 3-year change is listed in the column in purple. And as you can see, in all grade levels with the exception of grade 6 saw a change in a positive direction over the course of 3 years. We had significant change in grades 3, 7, 8, 10, and 11, with 10th grade language arts having the highest growth in the district. These would be scores in isolation. To further analyze our progress, we generally look to compare our scores to the state averages, which we receive when we get these scores, the district factor group averages, and the results of all other schools in Morris County. The district factor group averages and the results for all other schools in Morris County were just released at the end of last week. So tonight what we're going to take a look at is the state average. The state average usually falls within the midpoint of the district factor group averages, so it's a good point for us to compare our results to. So on this next slide, what you see on the left, again, is the district results for English language arts. And under the green headings are the state results for the same tests. And as you can see, in grade 3, our result for 2017 was 43.9% of the students in grade 3 language arts met or exceeded expectations on the PART test, compared to the state average of 50.4. So we're not happy with that because we're below the state average, and we'll be working towards, and the principals will outline ways they're going to work towards remediating that. But what we are pretty happy with is the fact that the growth that we showed is ahead of the growth that the state did over the same 3-year period, which means that in grade 3, in language arts, we're closing the gap. Same thing is true in 4th grade. We're below the state average by 5.3 percentage points, but our growth is ahead. So again, we're moving towards the state average. In grade 5 and 6 are cases where our growth did not meet that of the state. However, our results are higher than the state average. Right? 61.7% is higher than 58.9, 56.8 versus 53.3. Grade 7 and 8 is where we saw great growth compared to the state. 29.5% is huge, and 11.2%. And we can take a look at grade 7. When the park was first given in 2015, our score was equal to the state average, 51.7, 51.6. However, over 3 years, with this kind of increase in scores, we're now way ahead of the state average in 7th grade language arts, and the same thing is true in 8th grade language arts. Our growth rate is higher, and we're way ahead of the state average. 9th grade is the only case where we either did not have a score that exceeded the state average or a score that exceeded the growth of the state. So Mr. Franks is going to talk about what we're going to do in 9th grade. But if we look at grades 10 and 11, again, in grade 10, in 2015, we were at 22.2%. The state average was 36.6%. Our 3-year change was 27%, meaning that now our score, 49.2, is now ahead of the state average. Same thing holds true in grade 11 as well. Our growth rate of 14.3% compared to the state went in the opposite direction with its 11th grade language arts scores. Again, brought us up above the state average. So we're pleased with our English language arts scores. We do have areas to focus on to improve. And those areas tend to be different in different buildings, which is why it's important that the principals present their individual building data later on. Now take a look at mathematics. These are our 3-year scores in math throughout the district. Again, 2017 is under the green column heading, and the 3-year change is noted in the last column under the purple. Once again, the only grade not to show positive change, it was grade 6. All other grades showed positive change. In comparison to the state, in 3rd grade, the growth, 10.2%, was ahead of that of the state. We were behind in 2015, we were behind the state average in 2015, and now we're right with the state. All right, so that increase brought us up equal to the state. Grade 4, needs work. And our principals are going to talk about how they're going to raise test scores that were 40.8% and that were 6.5% below the state average up. Because the growth rate also, the change in scores was below that of the state. Grade 5, the change was close to state, a little bit below, but the students in grade 5 are performing better than the state average. Same thing in grade 6. We don't want to see a negative number here for a 3-year change. However, our scores are still ahead of the state average. Grade 7, once again, a shining star. Not only do they have a score, a 3-year increase that is higher than the state, but their results are higher than the state average. Grade 8 has higher growth, so they're closing the gap. Same thing in Algebra 1. And this is a combined Algebra 1 score with the 8th grade and high school scores combined. Each school will talk about their own separately. In geometry, we need to increase our growth. Was not quite as high as that of the state. And in Algebra 2, we had a growth rate that exceeded the state by a pretty good amount, making us closer to the state average. Now, we use our analysis of test data to come up with goals for the 2017-18 school year. The other element that's come into this and has come into play in choosing our goals is that in August, the federal government approved the Every Student Succeeds Act, called the ESSA. And within the ESSA, there are target goals for each test at each grade level that districts are expected to meet, so that for all tests given, by 2029-30 school year, all schools and all tests will be achieving 80% proficiency. The reason 2029-30 was chosen is because right now, kindergarten students in 2017-18, our current school year, graduate in 2029-30. This is an example because they're all different for different grade levels and different tests. But the baseline score that was used was the state average in 2015-16. So in 2015-16, the state average in English language arts was 55.5%. The goal is to get to 80. So that gap that needs to be closed is 24.5%. That's divided up among 14 years and then added on incrementally to get to 80 in 2029-30. So when we were establishing our goals as a district, we took that into account. So what is here are our goals for student achievement on the PAR. The first column shows, it's just a repeat of the district results in English language arts and in math. The second column shows the 2018 interim academic achievement target. And then the third column is the goal. So this is what we did. For instance, math. The district score was 52.3% in third grade math. The goal, the interim academic achievement goal, what the state is saying that the school should meet by the end of this year is 54.5. So then that became our goal, 54.5, what's expected of us for the ESSA. On the other hand, if you take a look at grade 7, the example we looked at a minute ago, the interim academic achievement target is set at 58%. Well, we already surpassed that last school year. So we're not going to choose 58% as our goal. We're going to bump this up. We want to keep striving forward, and we're going to raise it to 75%. If you take a look back, 75% is actually more along the line of a goal for 2027-28 school year. But nonetheless, we want to keep moving forward. So that's the way the 2017-18 PAR goals district-wide were created. And in the likewise fashion, each of the schools have PAR goals that are similar to that. As I said earlier, one of the other ways we like to look at data, and we're just starting to analyze the data that was released on Thursday, is to look at our results compared to that of our subgroup. And it's really important now to do so because in the ESSA, academic achievement is going to be worth 30% of a district's score in accountability. But within that 30%, overall school scores is balanced with subgroup scores. And for our district, subgroup-wise, we have two subgroups throughout grades 3 to 10. And they're Hispanic and economically disadvantaged. And last year, 85% of this, or in 2016, 85% of the students tested also belonged to not only the total school score, but also belonged to the Hispanic subgroup. And what we like to do is to take the state average, again, the average that's kind of in the middle, and compare that to the district average. And what you'll notice is that, with the exception of third grade where we're even, in every other grade in language arts, we exceed the state average, and most of the time by very significant margins. That's going to be important in our scoring on the ESSA, because this is going to be worth just as much as the total school score. That's language arts. Our Hispanic results in 2016 for mathematics show growth, some in very large amounts over the state. Our other subgroup, economically disadvantaged, 77% of the students tested in 2016 belong to this subgroup. And once again, we exceed the state average by, in some cases, in rather significant amounts, but in all cases exceed it. That's language arts. And this is mathematics. And once again, the same thing holds true. We exceed the state averages for the economically disadvantaged subgroups in mathematics in all grade levels and for all subgroups. The other element that is going to play a key role in our accountability to the state, to the SSA, is individual student growth. Very different than academic performance. Right? They're referred to in New Jersey as student growth percentiles. Student growth percentiles, and just go through an example of what a student growth percentile is. Student usually takes their first PARCC test in third grade. So for the purposes of our example, our student, she took her first PARCC test in English Language Arts in grade 3 in 2016. And she scored a 760 on a scale of 650 to 850. So she's grouped with all of her peers who scored around that same score. And that cohort is called her academic peers. That's what they're referred to. So then last year, she takes the PARCC ELA in grade 4 with her academic peers. And she receives a score of 800. So what her growth is determined by comparing her result in the grade 4 English Language Arts PARCC to that of everybody who's in her cohort, all of her academic peers. So this little result here, the 800, is traced back to that 760 curve, which is supposed to be three-dimensional, but I'm not really that good at all. You're supposed to see like a curve there. The cross-section of which is this, which will look familiar to a lot of people as a standard curve. Their student growth then is measured as a percentile. In New Jersey, a percentile score from 1 to 35 is considered low growth. Scores between 35 and 65 is typical growth. And scores 65 and above represent high growth. So when her score, her 800, is traced back to the curve, she hits right at 84, which represents high growth. Which means that she met or exceeded 84% of the students in her academic peer group in English Language Arts. So students get student growth percentiles for their language arts and math PARCC exams in grades 4 to 8 for English Language Arts and grades 4 to 7 in math. And the reason 8th grade is not included is because at 8th grade, that academic cohort splits. Some of them go into 8th grade to grade 8 PARCC in math, but a lot of students also go into Algebra 1. So that's why it's left at 7th grade for math. So what happens is our teachers get what's called a median SGP for the students in the class. So if you're teaching 4th grade, what happens is The student growth in English language, arts, and math for all of your students are listed from low to high. And the median, the middle number, is found. And that score is your median student growth percentile. Median is used rather than mean, rather than average, because median then takes into account the impact that outliers would have on the results. So it's a median. Then what happens is the school gets a median student growth percentile for the school. So all the teachers' language, arts, and math SGPs for their students are listed in order, and that middle number found. And then the district gets an SGP by combining all of the schools' SGPs. So we've seen some tremendous growth here, which is good, since this is going to be worth 40% of our score in the new accountability system. In 2014, the percentile score for the district was 39, which is typical growth, but really we want to be on the other side of that, 50. In 2015, we were at 56%. And in 2016, which is the latest official data that we have, our student growth percentile was 61, which is great because that's edging towards high growth. So we're proud of our growth over the last 3 years. We're committed to increasing student achievement. And the principals from each school now are going to present their scores, so they'll drill it down a bit and explain how their analysis of the data has led to improvement plans that will continue to increase student achievement. So the next person to come up is Mr. Marion and from Academy Street School, assisted by Mr. Slack.
Thank you for having us this evening to present to you Academy Street School scores for the 2016-2017 cycle. We're going to jump right in. All right. Jumping right in, just like the schoolmaker gave a district overview, this is an overview for Academy Street School using a 3-year comparison. So we look at 3rd grade. It's a problem for the district, but it's definitely a problem at Academy Street School. We've identified 3rd grade as a problem as we're below the state average and we're below the growth for the state. 4th grade, we do fall below the state average, yet our growth rate is that almost 3 times of the state. So we're moving in the right direction in 4th grade. As you can see in 5th and 6th grade language arts, we exceed the state average there for 2017, so we're happy with those scores. But we have identified grades 3 and 4 as areas of need of improvement. And we're going to show you to you later where we're moving in that direction to improve those scores. The next is the 3-year comparison. What I want to show you here is this. We talked about those IAAT goals. That's a target, a benchmark way of looking at test scores. That the state does that. But we also talked a little bit about growth. And I want to show you the growth when we look at a 3-year comparison. So here, if we look at a 3rd grade student, our 3rd graders, that same group of 3rd graders in 2015, 33.3% of them passed the language arts assessment. That same group of students now in 2016, taking the language arts assessment, 45.7% of them passed. If we move to another year, that same group of students, now 64.6% of them are passing the language arts assessment. So that is showing you the longer our students are with us and in our program, the more they're achieving. So we can look at anywhere on here and you see those 3rd grade students in 2016 to 17. We can go here. Anywhere we're looking diagonal on this, our students are growing at an astounding rate, which shows that our teachers are doing a phenomenal job with our students each and every day in the classroom to get that type of growth. Ms. Schoolmaker was talking about the SGPs. So when we look at our SGPs for this year, 4th grade, 55.5%, 5th grade, 59.5%, and now when we look at 6th grade, 85. So they have an 85 there. That puts us in the high growth category for 6th grade, puts us on the right side of that midpoint, inching towards high growth in both 4th and 5th grade. Now moving to math. Math, 3rd grade. This was an area that we focused on this past year. We identified it last year as a problem area, an area that we needed to pay a lot of attention to, and look what happened. So we have our students, here we go, 58.6% passed, which is ahead of the state average, which is also at a much higher growth rate over the 3 years. Fourth grade, once again, problem area that we're looking into, and we're going to put some energies into that this year to try to help improve that. As compared to the state average, we are below. We're also having negative growth here over a 3-year period. We're not happy with that. We're going to be looking for ways to improve those scores. But if we look at 5th and 6th grade again, we're above the state average in mathematics for both, and considerably in 6th grade. Now once again, if we look over a 3-year period and we start looking diagonally, in most cases in mathematics, we're going up. We do have some outliers here where we went down from 3rd to 4th, but then regained it as 5th graders. But as you see, while not as drastic and noticeable as in language arts, our math scores are increasing. The longer our students are with us, they are showing growth from year to year. So we are proud of that. Now here are our math SGPs that we're anticipating when we put the data together. We are all well on the right side of that bell curve there. 6th grade math was our lowest at 56.5, but still it's past the middle. And then the other two, grade 4 and grade 5, are in the high growth area, past that 65. So we're at 66 in 4th grade and 69.5 in 5th grade. So we're very happy with the growth of our students in mathematics as it comes to a growth model. Now when we put all that together, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th grade, we get our school SGPs, our student growth percentiles. And once again, look where we are. We're right on the cusp of that high growth. We're all the way at the edge of typical growth, right on the cusp of high growth with a 64 in language arts and a 63.5 in mathematics, which means our teachers are doing an outstanding job with our students, and we are seeing student growth from year to year. As we talked about earlier, the Schoolmaker pointed out, the IAT goals. We set our goals each year where we want to be at the end of the year when it comes to our testing cycle. 3rd grade, like I said, we did identify this as a problem area, but we also identified it as not just a problem area for 3rd grade, it's a problem area for K 1, 2, 3, 4. As you can see, we fell below in 3rd and 4th grade. But as you saw, 5th and 6th grade is where we start to exceed the average. So it's no longer just a 3rd and 4th grade issue, it's a K through 4 issue. And we've put a number of strategies in place, starting with our kindergartners, to help improve our scores in both language arts and mathematics, moving all the way forward. And we'll talk about those a little bit when we go to our plans for this year. But as you can see, we have a long way to go here from 36.6 to 50.8. Same thing in 4th grade, we have a long way to go. 5th and 6th grade, we far exceeded our language arts target, the interim target, achievement target. So we increased ours to reflect that we always want to continue to improve. So we're already past the IAT target for next year, so we established our own, which are a little bit higher. Mathematics, here we go. We're ahead of the IAT target. So we are going to establish our own goal to continue to show growth. In 4th and 5th grade, our growth is the IAT target. That's where we want to be. And in 6th grade, we far exceeded the IAT target for next year, and we've established our own goal. Something that's really neat, Ms. Schoolmaker pointed it out, but I was very proud to see, when we talk about these IAT targets, and we're seeing that next year, right, we're at 17, 18, 55.9% is the goal for 5th grade language arts. This is where we are right now, 64.6. So we're at that 22, 23, 24 range. We've already exceeded the 22, 23, and we're almost on our way to the 23, 24 target. And same thing in our 6th grade language arts. As you can see, we've already exceeded the 20, 22, 23 target and are creeping towards the 23, 24 target. So that is outstanding. And once again, we went through this with the mathematics. I kind of got ahead of myself and gave you the language arts and the mathematics before showing you that slide. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Swack for a couple minutes, so he's going to share some of our strategies for success, and then I'll be back.
Well, some of the strategies that we're doing that are having a real positive impact here in the school are quite impressive. If I do say so myself, it's true. We feel real strongly about it. Common school theme. We've looked at the research over the years, studies that have been done, we've shown that when an organization or a group has a common theme, children seem to do better, and the organization does better. So this year, we've got a theme that is make every day awesome. So it's written in our school